Join me today as we talk about the Iran. Join me today as we talk about the Iran conflict. What happened? Who's really to blame? Was it Trump or was it Obama? And what other presidents had done that? Was it constitutional? And did President Trump actually have the authority to do that? Stick around. Just might learn something. Welcome to the Eric T Conversation. I'm Eric T. Well, you've got a lot of things going on right now across the world. We've got Iran getting bombed with their nuclear sites on Saturday. They are retaliating against us today. Missiles are flying back and forth. But everybody's talking about the nuclear deal that Obama had for Iran. And then Trump came in 2017, and he kind of changed everything around. So who is actually to blame for all of that? If you don't understand, stick around to this, because I'm going to try to explain the best way I can who is actually to blame for Iran enriching uranium. So President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry inked the whole Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA for short, with Iran. The deal? Iran would stop enriching uranium past 3.67%, nowhere near the weapons grade, in exchange for a sweet $1.7 billion in unfrozen assets. Major sanctions relief sounds like a plan, right? But when President Trump took office in 2017, he wasn't buying it. He called Iran out. He said they were cheating. And in 2018, he dropped this bombshell. He said, since the deal, Iran's military's budget has skyrocketed nearly 40%. They're using that cash to build nuclear capable missiles, funding terrorism, and to stir up trouble across the entire region. Trump also slammed the deal itself, saying, even if Iran played by the rules, they could still be a hop, skip, and a jump away from a nuclear bomb in just a few years. So he pulled the plug on May 8th, 2018. The other countries in the deal, Germany, France, and the UK, weren't happy. They stayed in and begged Iran to stick to the terms, like letting the UN inspectors do their jobs. They said, show restraint, Iran. Don't blow this. Spoiler alert, Iran didn't listen. The International Atomic Energy Agency's latest report says Iran's been enriching uranium up to 60%. And guess what, folks? That's way past the deal's limit and scary close to bomb territory. So let's be completely real. Iran took the money, ran, and broke all of the rules. But here's the kicker. Iran's violations started way before Trump's exit. They pocketed Obama's cash and used it to flex their muscles, not play nice. So when critics point fingers at Trump, they're ignoring Iran's track record. Look, I'm not saying pulling out was perfect, but let's stop pretending Iran is some innocent victim, because they aren't. They've been gaming the system since day one. Facts don't lie. So where do we go from here? Can diplomacy work with a regime that's now shown it can't be trusted? Or are we headed to more conflict? And I guess all that didn't really work, because in the long run, we went after Iran on Saturday. And what happened? The U.S. conducted airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, codenamed Operation Midnight Hammer. I love it. The strikes were a meticulously planned assault involving 125 U.S. aircraft, and the heart of the mission were the B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, taken off from Whitman Air Force Base in Missouri. These planes, undetectable by radar, flew an 18-hour journey across the Atlantic, fueled by KC-135s midway, and entered the Iranian airspace against zero resistance. The B-2s carried the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, the bunker buster bomb. Weighing 30,000 pounds, these bombs can burrow through 60 feet of concrete or 200 feet of earth before detonating. It was their first time ever being used in combat. They were designed to destroy deeply buried targets. A total of 14 MOPs were dropped, primarily on Fordo uranium enrichment facility near Qom, with some hitting Natanz. Meanwhile, the U.S. submarine in the Arabian Sea launched over 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles in the Isfahan nuclear site. Why these targets? Fordo, buried under a mountain, is Iran's most fortified nuclear site, critical for uranium enrichment. Natanz is the country's primary enriched facility, and Isfahan supports the nuclear fuel cycle. The U.S. aimed at crippling Iran's ability to produce nuclear weapons. President Trump claimed the strikes totally obliterated these sites, though the Pentagon officials later said the damage assessments are ongoing, with initial reports indicating severe destructions. No civilians were hurt in any part of this action. Satellite images show 6 craters at Fordo's entry points, with debris scattered across the mountainside. Natanz and Isfahan also showed fresh damage. Iran claims it evacuated these sites days earlier, minimizing losses, and no radiation leaks have been reported. But why did the U.S. strike now? Because tensions escalated after Israel's launched attacks on Iranian nuclear and military targets on June 13, claiming Iran's nearing a nuclear bomb, and Iran retaliated with missile strikes on Israel, killing 24. President Trump, who withdrew from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal in 2008, has long argued Iran's nuclear program threatens global security. He cited Iran's enrichment of uranium of up to 60%, close to weapon grade, and justification dismissing on March 2025 with U.S. intelligence, saying Iran wasn't close to building a bomb. Tulsi Gabbard said that. He said the claims were false. And if you watch the whole thing in its entirety, you'll see that she didn't mean that was actual factual. She was saying the Ayatollah in Iran was making those types of statements, not actual statements that the United States was declaring they had no nuclear capabilities. The strikes weren't just about bombs, guys. Deception played a key role. Some B-2s flew west towards Guam as decoys. That was crazy, distracting attention while the strike force moved east. Fighter jets, including F-16s and F-22s, cleared the airspace. And no Iranian defenses fired one shot, likely due to the prior Israeli attacks weakening Iran's air defenses. The world now waits for Iran's response. Tehran has vowed retaliation, possibly targeting U.S. bases or blocking the Strait of Hormuz, a critical oil route, which they've already done today. Critics are citing it was unconstitutional for Trump to bypass Congress. Others, like Prime Minister Netanyahu, hailed the operation as a historic blow to Iran's nuclear ambitions. Operation Midnight Hammer reshaped the Middle East conflict, raising fears of a wider war. Iran weighs the next move. The stakes couldn't be higher. So as of June 23rd, Iran has retaliated, sending missiles towards U.S. station bases. Iran's retaliation appears focused on Al Udeid, likely due to its strategic significance and proximity with the ranges of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and drones. Reports of broader attacks on bases in Iraq, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE lack confirmation from credible sources and may conflict with unverified claims on X. Iran's arsenal, while depleted and medium-range missiles, still include short-range missiles, rockets, and drones, often deployed via proxies like Islamic Resistance in Iraq or the Houthis. The situation remains fluid, and U.S. defenses like the Patriot systems or things like that have been actually engaged in some of the missile attacks so far. So all the people that are claiming World War III is coming, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, people need to slow down that rhetoric because it's a little too early to start saying that. Yes, all of us voted on Donald Trump not causing any more conflicts or getting us any more wars. But this wasn't a war. This was a military action that was necessary. Now, do I feel we should have gone there with our bombs and our airplanes? No, I 100% was against that. I would have rather of us sent the bombs and the artillery and all the weaponry to Israeli forces and let them do it. But Donald Trump thought it was a better idea for us to do it, and it worked out great. For the first time in probably a decade, there were no leaks on this operation going through. They claim it's because they didn't tell any Democrats, so we shall see. But Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, those guys, nobody leaked anything, and this plan went off without a hitch. No casualties from the U.S. forces, no airplanes were hit and knocked down, and it was strategically precise, and they took out all these facilities with pinpoint accuracies. The kind of weaponry we have these days, people, it's mind-blowing, and it's better than anything we've ever had before. And this is the first time we've even used these types of weapons. So all those people that are talking about World War III or Congress didn't give approval, you have to understand something. The President of the United States can do military actions like that. It's in the Constitution. Now, to declare full-fledged war, President Trump has to go to Congress to get that approval. But to do these military actions, you don't have to do that. Just like President Obama went after Osama bin Laden. He didn't have to get congressional approval for that. Now, this is a much greater scale of attack, but he didn't have to get approval for that. Now, everybody's complaining like, Trump didn't have the legal ability to do this. Well, it's in the Constitution. It's Article 2 of the Constitution. Under Article 2, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, the president is designated as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. This grants the president broad authority to direct military operations, particularly in response to the imminent threats to protect the United States' national security interests. Specifically, Vance stated that Trump had clear authority to act to prevent the proliferation of the weapons of mass destruction, citing Iran's nuclear program as justification. The executive branch often interprets Article 2 to permit military actions without congressional approval in cases of self-defense and advancing national interests. So for all those that are saying Donald Trump didn't get specific approval from Congress, it's right there in the Constitution. They are allowed to do these things. Even Obama had an air campaign against Libya. So these things happen all the time with different presidents. Biden had done one. Bush had done one. They've all done operations like this. So this is absolutely nothing new. So this is not World War III, people. He doesn't need congressional approval. And if you're saying that and you listen to these people on the CNN and all these newscasts complaining about it, saying this is World War III, it's not. I don't think we're going to have boots on the ground. I strongly believe this is a one and done situation. And Trump went out there, bombed these facilities, and let them know the strength of the United States military. It's second to none. And it was a flex for these other countries, too, that want to mess around and find out. He laid down the law. Precision airstrikes took out major key nuclear facilities in Iran. And I'm proud of it. And I think it was great. As I said, I'm not exactly happy that we did it ourselves, but I'm glad we did it and no lives were lost. Anyway, that's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit chat, some observation, and some good old fashioned conversation. Thanks.